All right, so here's the $1,000,000 question. Do we go socialism or do we go all-out liberty? Seems to be the two choices. I'm not exactly sure what the Democrats and Republicans are doing, but certainly Bernie Sanders would like to see an entire socialist system set up. And there are some people on the far side of the Republican Party, like Rand Paul. Think about what Ron Paul would have said. That would be the anti-socialism. I'm personally a libertarian, so I'm more of the anti-socialism side. And it comes down to the one thing is that if we have a socialist society and everybody is compelled to contribute into the socialist community, then if I choose not to contribute by not paying whichever taxes are levied upon me to garner my contribution, then I will be arrested, and that's a violent act. And I vow to a non-aggression principle, and I would expect the same of my government. Having said all that, I'm confident that if we were to eliminate all of the social programs of the government, we would not run into a system of complete pandemonium and chaos. Instead, we would have free market solutions to healthcare arise. And I know that is a bold statement to say, because if the free market has command, then prices will go through the roof. You think that, $25 for an aspirin at the hospital is expensive now. Wait till you see what the free market does. And I strictly believe the opposite of that the free market will actually reduce prices. I don't have the time to explain it all, and nor do I have any fancy graphics to explain it with. But the free market is far better at providing low prices than not. When you look at the exorbitantly high prices in the healthcare industry right now, it is not a free market. You have heavy regulation in every step of the way. The doctors are regulated, they're insured, the hospitals are regulated, the pharmaceutical companies are regulated. It's regulation, regulation, regulation. And that does create some sort of safety net so that a safe product is available. However, if the gatekeepers of the approval will not allow a certain product into the market due to anything other than its ability to do its job, then there is a problem. And I believe that there is some corruption in the systems that are built within. That is to say, I believe that like the FDA and various other organizations that have their hands involved are at least susceptible to corruption. Having said all that, let's look back at socialism in all of its aspects and versus libertarianism. So, if half of the society wants to have, state-funded health care, let's say, free health care, as they're calling it. I mean, we get it. It's not free. Somebody has to create some sort of value in order to pay for the product. Ironically, the doctors that serve within the medical system are also paying into the product. There's like this weird feedback there, but we're all paying into his pay as well. Let's say half the people wanted that, and the other half the people wanted it to be a completely free market system. Why couldn't we just do both? Instead of all of the fighting and bickering, think about how much money it must cost for Congress to meet and argue about whether we're going to approve a bill that would bring in socialized medicine, at least some aspect of it, because they couldn't pass all of it in one chunk. And think of all the arguing that would go on, and all of the lawyers involved, and all the energy being used in Washington with lobbyists, and all this energy that we use as a society that's going into the cost of the whole project. And then it doesn't even get approved, let's just say, for example. So then you have half the society who wants this free market, and they claim a little victory because this socialized medicine expansion, let's say, wasn't approved. Well, that's a whole lot of wasted money that could have gone to healthcare. So half the people that want socialized medicine, they ought to be able to get a little portion of the tax that they pay and say, that part's going to socialized medicine. And I don't want to hear anyone arguing about it. Even if only 1 out of 300 million people say they want all of their adjustable tax money to go directly to free health care for everyone, well, then that's one person. And somehow that one person, that contribution gets absorbed into the system. But it wouldn't be just one. It'd be at least half of society. At least half of them would say some of my money is going into the socialized medicine. And they would portion it into other good things for people. Now, some would have different variables and balances depending on where they live and what their passion is. You know, like if you go to the beach, you're not necessarily going to be worrying about the preservation of lakes and rivers. You'd instead worry about pushing your tax money into the preservation of beaches and seawater. You know? But the thing is, there'd be no debate. We wouldn't be funding the argument.